Welcome in, everyone. It has been we've crossed the oceans, we've scoured deep and wide, and we have found some of the best squids on the planet here for the Splat World Series, and we are here to check out some more of the incredible action here in the losers bracket. I am Soav here with SigDoKaRi, and Sig, we've got Hypernova coming in against PxG here in a loser go home match.
Yeah, we do. We've got two very, very different kind of team comp ideologies from these teams. PxG focusing a lot more on the area of effect stuff with a Slosher and a S-Blast, and Hypernova really wanting to play fast with that super aggressive rush down dive sort of stuff with Decade on the brush, Henlo on the wiper, and Synapse on the gal. I'm very excited to see what we've got going into this. What is our map 1 going into this? I'm very curious. It's okay, we're starting things off on Urchin, so we're probably not going to see you and Lexi on the Snipe Riders, if I were to guess.
Yes.
That is their standard weapon, but this is a map that is really not known for being a great Snipe Rider map. One of the few maps that is favored to be like switched off of onto something like a Dapple Dually or an N-Zap or a 96. So I'm curious to see what we have going into this. So what else are you interested in here?
Kind of what you said. I'm kind of curious to see how these teams adapt, because Henlo I've seen play so aggressively around IPL, and there's that Gallon you were talking about. I've been high on that Gallon, so I really do want to see if they can make it perform very well with you coming in from PxG. Like, I'm very curious to see how they get that to work here on such an important map like this.
You really want to set the tone early here, especially in losers bracket. Like you said earlier, it's win or go home. And, I mean, so far, both these Western teams really want to represent the region. And already Synapse finds one a really big trade. Early zone control, though, for PxG. And the hammer toss from Henlo is able to find you. Henlo and Dakid already rushing forwards, trying to stagger Gray as much as possible, as well as Jordan. And Henlo finds one. Jordan finds that trade. And now PxG have a little bit of a tough retake here, already down 2v3. It's going to be pretty tough here, but if they can build like the tri-strikes and stuff, I feel like this would be a really, really solid retake for them.
Yeah, there's that aggression you were talking about. Cooler is already out for Hypernova. It's going to be Soldier sending in those triple strikes just to try to put some pressure on the point there. Zuka is up as well here for the side of PKG. Has to win the duel, does win, takes out Henlo, but gets kind of forced out from that sideline. But they're just going to take point. That's going to be the whale in as that, and PxG is going to flip it back. 42 for Hypernova. Well, we're going to ignore that, Zuka. No one saw that, but gets immediately smashed by Henlo, and PxG is going to go ahead and get this out of the penalty.
PxG now have full control of that zone. They're playing a little bit further back, though, just opting to get that respawn, jump back in, and push forward as 4 here. But Hypernova is already set back up on that top mountain. Jordan's able to toss a set of tri-strikes as the zip caster comes through from Dakid. Goss is looking to fight. Doesn't find anything, though, but the zone is still in favor of PxG here. 3-on-3 in the zone. Henlo tries to hammer forwards on that left-hand side. The lead is not taken yet, and Hypernova is able to get that cap in just in time as Henlo's rushing forwards onto you. You feels that pressure, but is able to shut things down. The Zuka coming through as well from Gray, and that's going to lead to PxG bursting back onto the zone.
For now, 3 minutes still on the clock, though. PxG finally getting control. Have to burn through these 30-second penalties at least. Flips back immediately to Hypernova. Whales now in response. Dakid and Henlo have to avoid those out, and they'll respond with that cooler tri-strike now to kind of deny the space. And eventually it goes back the way of PxG. A pick finally goes the way of onto PxG. They get 2. The Zuka is there just to make sure they clear the rest of it out, and PxG back in control here.
Full control established. They are now moving in front of that zone. Henlo does have that hammer, trying to use it just to get the throw, get some chip damage onto Jordan, but Jordan is able to stay alive. The Torp isn't going to clean things up there. And now Hypernova really only have the Zipcaster and the Killer Whale. Not super strong specials, but they're able to initially find 2 picks without using either of them. The lead does flip over in favor of PxG, but Hypernova are taking space rather quickly here, especially with that kid on the Zipcaster. Gets shut down instantly by Jordan as soon as they zip onto the pillow, and players are dropping left, right, and center for Hypernova. PxG able to hold onto the zone for now, and Dakid's kind of in a bit of a rough spot here, cut off from the rest of the team. Might have to jump out, but I'm not even sure if that's available. It looks like they just did.
Looks like they did. Yeah, but the pick immediately came through now into Hypernova, so PxG in a great position now, burning through the rest of that penalty here. Just Gus on this side flank here, sends in the whale to try to get that little bit of information and push some people out. But, you know, it's going to be enough for now. 20 left. A great shot comes in to get the Gallon out of the way. And PxG now triple strikes for Soldier just to make sure they can clear this out. They want to close this out. Gets that kid looking. I mean, there's going to be one last shot for Hypernova to get this out here before. There's not even going to be a chance. Synapse is too busy fighting on the front. And PxG take map 1.
Really, really solid stuff. Great hold there from PxG, especially with shutting down whatever Hypernova wanted to use to get aggressive, staying alive through the hammer toss, immediately just turning onto Datkid with the zip catch. That, especially on that first retake attempt from Hypernova, was crucial for PxG to just establish themselves a little bit more. And then, I really, really like this Gal switch over for you. Just gives them a lot more flexibility and mobility on a map where there's a lot of cover, not that many long sightlines for Pets to take advantage of, and I think PxG did a great job at just tempering Hypernova's aggression, using that mobility to kind of get in.
I agree. I mean, I can understand being maybe a little underwhelmed by the kit on the Gallon, but realistically, like you said, it has so much potential to just kind of get over those high ledges and around, while also, you know, being able to duel. Let's remember, it is 2 shots and you win the duel with that thing, so you can't really just run in at it. But maybe we'll see. I don't think we'll see that here, as our next pick from Hypernova on the counter pick is going to be Barnacle and Dime. Reminder, this is zones only, so it'll be zones on Barnacle and Dime.
Yeah, I really like this counter pick coming through for Hypernova. I constantly remember seeing them in a couple of European tourneys and occasional like SOSs, just being incredibly strong in this map. Now, this is a team caliber that we haven't seen them play against much before outside of occasional majors, so I'm wondering if this counter pick is going to work. We see a splash switch for Datkid, just slowing the pace down even further, looking to just get some more consistent value out of that crab tank and the burst bombs as well. Already, though, not working out great as Henlo already goes down. Goss is running through that right-hand side, finds another pick. Jordan is rushing forwards as well, past that splash wall, and Goss has just made so much space already on the snipe of Hypernova. They are in big trouble here, so.
Yeah, as I say, the number 2 seed from NAEU is absolutely just dominant. This is that aggression we're looking for. Now with the cooler up, you just gonna go ahead and pepper in some damage here. Really just keeping Hypernova out of the way. They have to send in the whale and the crab just to even get out of spawn. Meanwhile, the point continues to tick, and now during the 50 point, Henlo just has to break away to try to get there up against this Splatling, just trying to get any sort of value. No, gets a pick. They finally push control down, but Henlo had to go do it themselves. Triple Ink Strike is back, and it continues to tick. PxG just going in. I mean, incredible run from PxG just from this control of space here.
Yeah, they are not stopping whatsoever. Able to find, Henlo, though, is able to find Goss on a shark, and that's going to give Hypernova the first cap of the zone this game. But Gray is still up and has been running minis. I'm very interested about this. You know, the Bubble and Zuka, we've seen get a lot of value. Those Zuka picks in the first game were really big, and that Bubble, for more stability on the plat, prevents Hypernova from really rushing for a little bit. But Synapse is going to take matters into their own hands, pop that killer whale, and move forwards. Henlo tries to just make a little bit of space, is punished. Same thing with Synapse, but gets traded out here. It's just Dak and Lexi left onto that zone, and Yu is able to just find a little bit of space. Henlo goes down too, and same thing with Dak, and it's just Lexi left. And yet again, PxG, they have been incredibly stable on these maps so far.
Yeah, they have done such a good job about punishing this aggression out of Henlo, and I mean, now you can see it. There's that Bubble just getting so much value, holding that space right here from the front line, but eventually PxG gonna have to give it up here. You just trying to pick any sort of shots there, and goes now back. Synapse caught out there. Just caught looking and goes again, manages to get run over by Henlo. Henlo with the hammer now, trying to find any sort of value. Yeets it. No, misses Soldier barely. But the damage has been done, and I mean, the penalty is now gone. PxG has back into the positive territory, now at 20 and climbing with, what, 2:45 on the clock.
And they have to get moving here fast. Just 10 points left, and their wiper ends up going down. There's Henlo gone. Same thing with Datkid, and that's just not enough paint now that you're left. And PxG are able to complete that 2-0 sweep. They move on to the next round of bracket in a pretty dominant game too as well. So,
as I say, considering it was the number 2 seed who fell pretty early from out of the NAEU side versus, you know, such a unfortunately lower seeded number 10, like, it's kind of to be expected on paper, but I feel like that was a very dominant look from PxG. Like, it seemed like their plans were very well coordinated. It seemed like they were communicating very well, and Henlo, you know, had moments where they got into the back and like caused a lot of chaos, but PxG was very good at roping him in, it felt like.
Absolutely, and I mean, this is kind of what we saw. This is why they won the Super Jump, to get that first seed, or first Western seed kind of berth here, and we're the only team to take a game in that winner's bracket between the JP versus Western teams. PxG definitely going to be worth keeping an eye out for, and I believe that will do it for the set.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for Hypernova, we will be saying goodbye to them. They'll be back with just enough time actually to go and do SOS and Low Ink for the coming months. So you know, you'll still see them around the scene. But I say Low Ink, but they'll be gone. But PxG will be going on into the future, so they still have their hopes on it. And with a showing like that, I think they're looking to make a statement here as, like you said, as the higher seed.
Absolutely.
Well, as we said, that's going to be it here from this game, so keep an eye on the future. You'll see plenty more games from the Splat World Series coming to you real soon. Everybody have a great time wherever you are. Take care and be safe.